My name is Doug Downs. My guest this week is Richard Kies, the new IABC International Chair. Richard, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Now, you're from Western Canada like me. You're from Regina now, Saskatoon previous.
Actually, the
other way around.
Regina originally, born and raised, but I've been living in Saskatoon since 2012.
And I always say in Canada's Rocky Mountains, but I live in Calgary because it sounds so much simpler.
Right.
Welcome to Toronto. I grew up here.
Thank you.
You've been here a million times.
I've been here a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you checked anything out while you're here?
Not too much. It's been a pretty packed trip, so I haven't had a lot of time, but I have spent some time here before. I was here, my wife and I were here a couple of years ago to see Green Day at the Sky Dome. So we kind of
at the what dome? I'm not familiar with that.
Whatever that is,
what
right?
Is that
yeah, it's still Sky Dome to me.
Rogers Place.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rogers. So we've had a chance to kind of tour around and do some of the touristy stuff. Take the ferry out to Toronto Center Island. And things like that. So, yeah, we've done that stuff. It was great. Yeah.
So Richard, you're a 30-year member with IABC, as you mentioned, Regina and Saskatoon. You're an SCMP and an ABC.
Yes, so that's old school for the IBC members that have been around, kind of pre-2010.
Gold standard back in the day.
And I will tell you that anybody that has the two designations will say that the ABC was much harder to get because it was arduous. It was arduous. Like the process was essay questions and multiple choice and a 30-minute oral exam that they would spring on you, pull you out, give you a scenario, and then you had to write a plan, present it orally, and then go back to the exam room to finish the rest of the ABC exam.
I've written my SCMP, passed it probably by one question. I have no idea.
I don't know what the pass rate was.
That was hard, man.
That was. Yeah, it wasn't easy, but ABC was tough too.
How's the conference going for you?
It's been fabulous. Just great. There's a great buzz here. This is a great attendance. This is more attendance than we've had the last couple of years. We were in Vancouver previously, in Chicago before that. We were here in 2023, which was kind of a high water mark in the recent past in terms of conferences, but we're close to that attendance here. And I've heard nothing but really good comments and feedback on the session so far.
There was a session you were telling me about that really stood out to you. It was about AI and storytelling.
Right.
What leaped out to you from that?
Yeah, so that was a great session this morning. It was actually a panel discussion, and so it's been interesting because AI, of course, is a big topic of conversation with communicators around the world. But what I've seen, and it was reflected this morning, is a bit of a shift in the narrative, if you want to call it that, around the discussion of AI and the impact. So I would say a couple of years ago, there was talk at a conference like this, and a lot of it was about AI is going to take your job as a communicator. What we're actually seeing now that AI is a little bit more in practice is, yes, there's some tasks that AI does more faster, more efficiently, maybe a bit of the grunt work, if you want to call it that. But what's the real story that came out today is that things like earned media, which is basically, that's the work of public relations, right? Getting stories placed in media, that is highly, highly valued by the AI algorithms. So actually, we were joking kind of before we started, like the press release is back.
It's back, baby.
It's back, baby, like George Costanza would say, because that type of content, when it's leading to earned media or kind of in the AI world, like third-party endorsement, that's very valuable content. And so, AI SEO is now migrated to AEO, right? So
or GEO, whatever.
Right, whatever. So, but whatever acronym you want to use, that new AI generated search content really values earned media, and that is one of the things that's actually placing communicators kind of at the proverbial seat at the table. That's again been discussed. For as long as I've been an IBC member in this profession, we've always talked about wanting that seat at the table. And it seems like maybe that AI is helping us get there.
So ultimately, it's not third-party endorsement. It's a respected voice, typically through a URL, that has put our URL into their content. The role for the communicator is ultimately going to be, who are those respected URLs? Because I would suggest mainstream media, right now, yes, it still counts. It still has some punch and weight. But more and more and more, the mainstream media is not becoming that source. It's the niche media that's starting.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever source of media it is, that seems to be a favored type of content that AI really values and elevates. The other thing that was interesting is apparently FAQs, which is kind of an old school thing that a lot of people have posted on their website, and some people have taken it down because it seems kind of out of date. Well, apparently the algorithms really like that too.
Why wouldn't they?
So put that back up. If you've taken your FAQ page down on your website, put it back up and see what happens, I guess.
I have a thing at the bottom of our website. It says, "Hey AI," and you click on it, and it's just an FAQ about describe us this way. And
well, that's another interesting thing, and I will not take credit for this because it was one of the speakers on the panel today. And I don't want to get the name wrong, so I'm not going to sort of guess who it was. But one of the speakers said, treat AI like an audience, talk to it like an audience, because it has that ability to learn, and you can challenge it, and you can craft messaging for AI as an audience the same way you would create messages for any other type of audience, almost like a stakeholder. And that's another way that you can engage AI in a communication function that's kind of meaningful, and then it actually will help you to achieve some of your objectives that you're working towards.
Universally, the people that I've been speaking to are so energized to be here. Yeah. Part of that is seeing old friends. You would get that at any conference, right?
Absolutely.
Any of the member associations.
Right. Yeah.
Your colleagues that are in the trenches, sort of with you, and you get together every year. Yeah. But what are you hearing from folks? Not just seeing old friends, but about the content that's here and about the role itself. Where are the winds of change blowing the role from what you're reading?
So again, it seems to be a little bit of a shift positively that I'm hearing and kind of seeing. So a lot of I had the opportunity yesterday to moderate kind of a fireside chat with Megan Noel, who's a chief communication officer.
Watch that,
right? In the U.S. and that whole CCO role now is getting that C-suite seat at the table, right? Which there seems to be more of a recognition that communications is a strategic function. It's not just a support function. It's not just there to pump out the press releases or write the brochures or update the website, because things around trust and reputation, those are critical business objectives now that have real impact on the bottom line, right? Of especially if it's, I guess whether it is a publicly traded company, if it's a government department, if it's a nonprofit, like, if you lose your reputation or you lose public trust in whatever mission or mandate that you have, that's devastating to your organization. So you need that communication expertise to be at the table with the executives making those strategic calls. And it seems like there's a recognition that, seasoned professionals at a CCO position or level are being trusted and valued more and more these days at many organizations.
One of the recognized measurements within IABC is the Gold Quill Awards. How are you? I've got multiple pieces to this question, so I'm going to ask them one at a time.
Sure.
How are you seeing the award submissions, and have they changed? How are they different? To say they're more digital in composition, obviously, for the last 10 years or so. Yeah. But how are you seeing them change?
So we've actually seen a fairly good uptake, an uptick in terms of the number of entries, which is great. That's great to see, and from around the world, not just North American centric. We've seen lots of entries from Asia, from Africa, from sort of Asia Pacific area. So it seems like that recognition, it's not just the recognition too. And anybody who's gone through an award submission knows you learn a lot through the process. Even if you don't get the award, the feedback you get from the judges is absolutely worth its weight in gold. Also, as a volunteer, if you get the chance to judge a category and you get to see maybe half a dozen entries in whatever category you're assigned to. Yeah. The learning that you get as a judge and evaluator is just is priceless. So there also seems to be that recognition from both the entrance side and the judging side that this is a really good exercise. You see the best of the best, and it's amazing to see best practices from different parts of the world, learn from other communicators, and I think that's a big part. That's a big part of IBC's strength, as a global as a global association is that sharing. I mean, we have people from so many different geographies, different industries, different roles, but yet there's a commonality in the work, of communications, and it does a cut across. Personally, I've spent most of my career in the charitable and nonprofit sector,
Right.
but I can have conversations with people who do corporate communications or government or whatever industry it is, and we have commonality because we have the same issues and challenges, maybe just in a slightly different format.
Somebody from Trinidad and Tobago mentioned to me today how much she's enjoying the conference because she has conversations with people from other places with different perspectives. And what she was describing was she lives in what she calls an Anglosphere, where it's CNN, it's Fox News, and they're right next door to Venezuela, which is so they don't really have a window to the Spanish world,
Right.
which was amazing. He said, but to get to speak to people from different parts of the world, she found it eye-opening that someone could have a very different perspective on something that she hadn't thought of.
Right. Yep.
What are the conversations that you're having with people here?
Yeah, it is pretty busy night, and I've met people from Trinidad, from Barbados. I've met people from New Zealand, Australia,
Africa,
There's
strongly represented
a
here.
huge African presence
Yes.
here, especially South Africa, Nigeria, but other parts of Africa, also Europe. There's lots of people here from the UK,
Yes.
other countries. And what's really interesting, actually, is again this the commonality in the challenges that people are facing.
Yep.
How do we use AI as a tool? How do we help our organizations advance their mission? How do we deal with economic uncertainties that are affecting budgets? And we've got teams that shrink, and but we're expected to deliver more with less,
Yeah.
right? So there's very common conversations, even though people are representing such different, diverse sectors and parts of the world.
IABC,
Mhm.
membership organizations are, as they always have been, are in a mildly competitive battle to draw more members
Absolutely. Yep.
to the organization. How is IABC doing? Where are your geographic centers of focus? All that stuff.
Yeah, it's a competitive landscape for sure.
Yeah, and not everyone's a member of an association.
No,
right?
no, and
Yeah.
and I would say obviously can't speak for every association, but a lot of them are facing challenges in terms of declining memberships. We've had our challenges with that as well. A lot of that was probably precipitated out of COVID, because when everything kind of shut down, you think about an association that relies on a conference, regional events, local events, and you had no ability to get together in person. Obviously, like most other organizations, you pivot to virtual, and again, coming out of COVID, it's now more of a hybrid. So you have virtual events, you have in-person events. But one of the challenges is, people can get a lot of what they want in terms of whether it's professional development or education and whatnot. They can get it at home, from their home office or the comfort of their couch, through online resources. They don't necessarily have to join an association, get involved. But what they miss out on is that opportunity to connect, create a community, learn and get exposed to different ideas and different people from different parts of the country or the world.
As the one lady was saying,
Yeah,
how
exactly.
eye-opening it was. She could not,
Exactly.
from her
Yeah.
computer
Yeah.
terminal in Trinidad,
Right.
get
Right.
that. I
Right.
suppose, I mean, it's an internet world. I suppose at some point, yes, the information is there.
Right. Yeah.
I've never engaged with online as I have with in person.
Right.
Right. And it's not just, hey, it's great to see a buddy.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
genuinely, what did you try?
Yeah.
Straight up, how did that work? Don't give me any fake, how did that work for you? What do I need to avoid?
Yeah. I remember hearing a comedian talk about COVID and talking about how surreal it was to do stand-up comedy over Zoom, and
Was that Lars Callio?
I'm not sure.
A ton of that.
I'm not sure who it was, but just the almost delivering into the void and not getting any feedback because people are just a square, on a screen. And it's sort of the same thing. I mean, again, there's great resources, and it's great to connect with people across geographies through video chat and Zoom and Teams and whatnot. But the value of getting face to face with people is just a different level of engagement and connection. And I think, like a lot of associations kind of struggled coming out of COVID with that because you lost that sometimes. And, you've got a younger generation coming into the workplace. Sometimes they don't know what they don't know because they don't
Fair
miss it
enough.
because they never actually even had the opportunity to do that pre-COVID.
And there's a cost. I get that.
Yeah.
It's like $1 a day, basically.
Yeah. So, affordability and cost is an issue and again, we're not unique as an association for sure. The other associations are facing similar challenges. So that's another reality. I mean, we have a really strong membership in Canada. We've had some challenges in the U.S., but I think, have turned a corner and are starting to rebuild. And we're now starting to see other pockets of growth. Australia, in particular, has always been a strong point for IBC.
Aussie.
Yep. But to see some of the other parts of Asia, like I said, there's people here from New Zealand. There's people here from the Philippines. There were some Gold Quill Award winners from the Philippines that were recognized. So some other pockets that are starting to grow, and that African presence as well.
Yeah, the EMENA region.
Europe is really taking off. One of the really
EMENA, for folks that are not part of IABC, EMENA meaning European, Middle East, North Africa. Isn't it?
That's correct.
Okay,
yeah, that's what the acronym means.
Nailed it.
Yeah. But and what's really interesting there is what they have seen gaining traction is so IBC has sort of had this traditional kind of local chapter model. So you have a local chapter with the president and some governance, and you do local events. Well, we've actually coming out of COVID and some restructuring the last couple of years have created kind of a different way to connect as a community locally. So it doesn't require all of the governance structure, which can be a real challenge, right? Again, getting people to volunteer these days is also a challenge. Volunteer engagement is tough in this environment. People are really busy. There's lots of demands. So what has worked really well in Europe, especially, is the community model, where they are able to engage as a community of communicators without having to create an administrative structure around it. So cities like Berlin, Brussels, Warsaw have seen great engagement with around this sort of community model where they can just get together. Sometimes it's just a pay-as-you-go model. So it might be a lunch, it might be cocktail after work, get together, whatever it is. The other thing that's starting to work really well in Europe.
It's like you're dating the association.
It's kind of like that.
Right?
Yeah,
you're not in a committed relationship.
Yeah, that's
okay.
right. You get to dip your toe in, right?
All
Before
right.
you make the big commitment. That's
okay.
Right. The other model that's worked so well in Europe, they're now bringing it over to the U.S. is they've been very successful with a conference model that they sort of have dubbed the unconference. So it's a conference with no speakers, no keynotes, no agenda. It's just
networking.
It's discussions. It's 100 communicators in a room in a facilitated discussion, so they can get, and the real value comes from the peer-to-peer or the group learning, and that's worked so well in Europe. They're actually planning an unconference event in Washington D.C. in October.
Okay, what about here? I mean, that is a decentralized model of communication that I love. And I have to ask, is IABC looking at that? Of course, there's mentorship.
Right.
There has to be in an association.
Sure there's,
but that whole decentralized, I'm here for the networking.
Right.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah. And so I can speak to the in Canada, IABC, we sort of have two separate regions. East, which is Ontario East, and then the Western region, which is, everything west of Ontario.
Yeah.
What has happened is those two regions are collaborating quite a bit on leadership development, on volunteer engagement, and they actually had a Canada conference in Ottawa last fall. So that was a pan-Canadian conference. The Western region of Canada had a long-standing biannual conference that was quite successful, and so the two regions collaborated last year to bring a pan-Canadian conference back. It's been a long, long time since there was a IABC quote-unquote Canada conference, but they had it in Ottawa last October. Very successful.
Fantastic. Wherever you live in this world, there is an IABC chapter at least relatively near you that you can belong to. That's the key part of this. Is
That's right.
IABC is for you if you
Yeah.
work as a business communicator.
Yeah. And if you are in a remote geography that you're that close to a chapter, you can be a member at large and still be engaged, and we'll reach out to you and make sure that you're involved from a regional level wherever you are.
It's fantastic to meet you, and I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. It's been lovely.